Awesome. That was a great topic. Moving on to topic 3. Steve, what is your mystery box topic? It is this time.
Here we go. Here we go. Okay, well, since Mom and Papa Griff are here, I'll make sure you don't get grounded.
Whatever.
So, my topic, I chose a great one. My topic is Bret.
Bret.
And who is Bret?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
So flipping on to you now.
Hi.
Oh, yeah. Because we all know the lovely Master Griffin. We're all, like I said earlier, we're happy to pull in the parking lot, see that black Suzuki or Nissan or whatever it is, and say, God, I love that guy. But we don't really know Bret.
Wow. I'm such a mystery.
Some of us do, some of us don't. You really are. You're the enigma.
You're an enigma.
True.
After all.
So I want to make all the enigma maniacs happy at home and let them learn about you a little bit and see kind of like, who is this guy?
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Ready.
Oh, man.
He's in the hot seat.
I know. Never had to.
Phone a friend now, or
I'll get my speed dial ready.
Oh, friend. Oh, man.
Kate's probably like, "Oh shit, I better." Hide.
Oh, yeah. Careful which friend you call, though. Some of them are 99 cents a minute. You don't want to call those.
True.
Those are bad. Don't call those.
Wow, I think this is the first having the show flipped on me. I don't know why all of a sudden I just pressure.
That's what greatness entails, is being asked the tough questions. So, let's see. So, like, for example, like, what got you into podcasting?
Oh, okay. What got me into podcasting? Okay. So, a couple different things. I was listening to, similar to streaming, I was listening to a group, Kind of Funny. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitch. They're on multiple podcast platforms. I was lucky enough to go on their podcast a couple Augusts ago, maybe 2 years.
I remember that.
So, been watching their stuff for a while. And one of their things that they said was, if you want to do something, just do it. So that was along the streaming mindset. Also, YouTube, friend wanted to do it. I was like, sure, I'll help you out. We did it for a little while. They dropped off, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep doing this thing and give it a try. So, I mean, that was essentially why it started, was if I'm not doing it, it's never going to happen. As I've been kind of doing more and more episodes, obviously we're on 73 today. It's been going back to topic 1 where I mentioned the teaching. Like, I never thought I'd be teaching in front of 20, 30, however many people.
Yeah.
It's another, honestly, it's another test for public speaking and doing that. And, you know, you got to keep the conversation going, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it benefits myself either obviously personally, or if I was still teaching, doing that, or doing the stream, hopefully helping the presentation there. So I think that's my big motivation for why I want to keep doing it. Even if, you know, we don't get that many listens or views, at least it's something for me and, you know, makes me happy.
Don't worry about how many are listening. It's who's listening that's important.
There you go. It's true.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah. Is there a specific person or like a podcast show that inspired you to say, you know what, I really need to do this?
Okay. Well, I've already mentioned Kind of Funny. They're a big group that I like, and honestly, dream job scenario, if I was to go work there, that would be one. Another company that I'm inspired by is a company called Rooster Teeth over in Austin, Texas. They've made so much content. They've made Red vs. Blue, the Halo series. They've have numerous podcasts themselves. They have gameplay videos. So I'd say them. They got a lot of different personalities in there that, you know, I like certain things from each of them. This person's this person's that. And then another big one, he's not a podcaster per se, but he's a big streamer that I look up to, is Maximilian Dude. So he's a big component in the fighting game community, and just watching his progression from starting in 2011, I think he started his YouTube channel, and like seeing his growth from that point, and like he's very successful himself. He's worked on games, he's worked obviously doing the stream, he's doing his content, he's helping his friends, and his friends are, you know, getting bigger and stuff like that, and just nobody has a bad thing to say about him, and it's like, that is the person I want to be, the workhorse, the, you know, caring and honest, and just somebody that you know, like I said, nobody says anything bad about him.
Yeah.
So,
and then like outside of podcasting, is there somebody who like you've looked to in terms of like interview experience, or like you've listened to and you said, wow, that guy interviews well, I should try that, or you could pick certain points or certain things that kind of inspire you?
Outside of podcasts, I'd say that's tough. I don't know if I have anybody outside of podcasts that I can like nail on the head that would be like somebody I styled after. Maybe like obviously with us watching WWE all the time or wrestling in general, you know, obviously do the interviews here or there, but I think that still kind of circles back to podcasts in a way, because obviously you think of the Chris Jericho podcast, you think of Busted Open Radio, like how they're asking things. So I think as I'm listening to those more now, I'm like, oh, okay, picking up on things here and there. But yeah, it also just circles back to like Greg Miller and Kind of Funny and like, how's he doing?
Like, where do you hope this podcast where do you expect it to go? Or like, maybe not expect, but like, what are you hoping for, like aspiring to?
That's a good one. I don't know if I have like a set goal for it, and that's probably not the best thing, because if you don't have a goal, what are you really driving towards, you know? I think the main goal, at least right now, is personal growth. How can I help myself get better? So by doing the podcast, obviously I'm talking a lot, or I'm doing the social aspect of inviting people on, and you know, maybe people I haven't interacted with a lot, like there's members in the Kind of Funny community who I've had on the podcast, and getting to know them better and holding a conversation and making a friendship with them, or just learning to, I don't know, expand your words, that sounds weird, but like keep it going instead of just like that short simple answer, it was fine, or whatever, just, you know, explaining things.
Like, what are some things you've learned from podcasting?
It can be a pain in the ass to render videos sometimes. Jeff, not calling you out right now, not at all calling out Jeff and Kate for that 3.5 hour podcast that could not be rendered. So yeah, I mean, just the workflow there, like, okay, record it. Okay, then I got a timestamp. This is when this topic was. This is when this topic was. This was this to do the editing for. I mean, I'd put it on myself, but doing 4 videos, 1 per topic, 1 full, doing the audio version, doing the thumbnail graphics, doing the graphics on the screen that, you know, obviously the chat sees if they're live or if they're seeing the edited product. So that workflow is a big one. And then scheduling is another big one. There's been many a week where I'm like, oh shit, I don't have anybody lined up for Saturday. Great, now I got to do a solo podcast. Now I got to think of 3 topics instead of 1 topic. And I'm like, and getting open to those ideas of like, what do I want to talk about, and what can I talk about passionately enough that I can go for more than 5 minutes about. So
I can see that.
Yeah, definitely can. And do you ever rewatch your own podcast?
You know, I should. I should, but I haven't. And I think Sam mentioned it before we even started recording, how she did the band and she hated hearing her own self on the recording. I think it's similar to that. I'm like, oh God. And I just need to get over it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I asked, because some of the greatest communicators have the hardest time of listening to themselves, even if they're considered to be great. So that's why I'm wondering if like you're able to do that, because I couldn't. I could never listen. I probably won't listen to this after it's finished.
I like I said, I definitely should. I did with the Kind of Funny podcast. I went and listened to that because I wanted to hear how I was presenting myself to that audience, because I've been a member of that community for numerous years and I've gone to live events and stuff, but I was never the most social butterfly and chatting with everybody and whatever. I was just kind of like, I'm here, you know, I'll do what I can. I wanted to break down those walls and barriers, but like it can be tough when you're in the moment sometimes of like taking that leap, taking that step. So for that podcast, I listened back to it and I got a decent like response back from it, obviously with follows and stuff, and that's all great. But people reaching out, I had some people in the YouTube comments, which people say you're never supposed to go to the YouTube comments because it's a shithole, and it is. But I went through.
Horrible place.
Yeah, I went through. I think I only had 1 negative comment about myself. Like, oh, this guy spent all this time and money to just sit there for 40 minutes. And I'm like, bitch, you don't know what I did that day. I was at the studio all day hanging out with these guys.
He's watching you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there was some other people who were totally related. I talked about Taekwondo and some stresses with that. And they're like, man, I know the same thing. It's the same thing at my dojo, or it's the same thing with this. And I'm like, that's awesome. And I was talking with them. And like I said, connected a little bit more with some other community members. And I felt more, I don't know, secure is the right word, more positive reaching out towards them, being like, hey, do you want to talk more on this podcast or just in general?
Yeah.
But yeah, this podcast specifically, no, I should definitely listen to it more. And with work being work, and I can I have to sit at a computer all this time. And I'm listening to podcasts anyway. If I run out of New Day podcast, I run out of Bustin' Open, I run out of Jericho, I run out of Chris Van Vliet, why not listen to myself and try and, learn something from it?
Yeah. It's a learning experience.
For sure.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just it. And you kind of listen to others, or you kind of like, listen to it and you go, okay, I see what they're doing there. That's good. I see the way they frame that question. That's good. I like that. Yeah, it's cool. Are there ever times where you try to bring in things from outside of your podcast into your show? Like, different, things like, from Taekwondo, for example, or different things. Like, obviously today we were talking about Taekwondo, but is there ever a time when you have little things, like little blips that come up in your life where you're like, I'm going to kind of incorporate that in my show?
I think so. I don't know if I do it a bunch. We've definitely talked about Taekwondo a few times over the podcast, like obviously this episode, but other episodes too, where it's been the topic, or at least like a moment of it has come up. I used to do vlogs with some friends, and that was definitely interesting, of like, today I did this, today I was stressing about this, today was that. So I'd say those were more bringing things from real life. I'm trying to think of a certain example. We've done so many topics that I don't know. I can't put a finger on it. Like only other thing I can think of is like, oh, I watched this TV show. Let's talk about the TV show or whatever.
I remember you had one a couple months ago. I think it was maybe in May or June, but Steve and I were listening to it. It was like the struggles that you were having finding a job.
Oh, yeah, the changes in life. Okay.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I talked about that, and I talked about just a bunch of life changes. Yeah, I remember that now. Yep.
It's refreshing when you talk about like real life things, because it shows that you're a human, you know, and sometimes it kind of feels like, oh, we take on this like persona and we have to look a certain way if we do like a podcast or we're out in the public. But like, hey, at the end of the day, we're all humans, right?
For sure.
We're all, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's exactly what I was expecting. I figured there's little things that happen in life that you can sometimes like incorporate into your persona. It's interesting to think about, Do you ever, what are some people like who outside of the podcasting world who have inspired you in terms of like supporting you? Like not just people you've looked at that you've never met, but like people like,
just people who supported me in general.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, the obvious one is the parents. The parents have always been supportive. Good answer. Yeah, I had to get that first.
Shout out.
Yeah, so they've been supportive, obviously, with me, when the stream first started, shouting my lungs off at, 11, 2 a.m., whatever, and them not busting on the door, being like, what are you doing? Shut up. Obviously, using the space, whether it was the podcast recording down into the dining room or doing Extra Life in their living room, and obviously that's 24 hours of chaos and a shit ton of people. So they're big supporters, and Dad recently has been pushing, well, not pushing, that sounds weird, more invested, I guess. Not that he wasn't before, but like trying to learn what's the ins and outs of Twitch. What do you need for partner? What is affiliate mean? What do you need to do for editing? Like, he's really trying to learn as much as he can, so I think he can either help or like try and lend some advice if he can think of something, which I appreciate a lot. Kate's another big supporter, obviously. I mean, as we're recording right now, she's literally studying over there with noise canceling headphones, so my annoying ass doesn't distract her. So she lets me do this, and obviously streaming during the day, and we were finding that balance of like, okay, when's stream time? When's time to hang out? When's obviously this time? And it's a whole smorgasbord and puzzle of figuring out when we want to do it. But like, she sees the ups, she sees the downs, she sees the stresses, she sees the good moments, and you know, she's there for all of it. She lends help when she can, but she also knows like, hey, if you need to just vent or take a second, then I'm just here. Yeah, exactly. So she's a big supporter. And there's been friends too along the way. I mean, I mentioned when I started the YouTube channel, I started with my buddy John because he wanted to. And then he dropped out, but like, he's always checking in like, hey, how's the channel doing? Hey, how's the YouTube going? How's content going? And like, he's gotten bursts here and there where he wants to get back into it. And he comes to me for advice. Like, oh, what would you do for this? What would you do for that? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, here's this, here's that. So him, I got other friends, Billy, Dio, and John were like the second wave of like people who were helping me with content. They would come in for videos if I needed recording, whether it was gameplay stuff or whether it was stream. So they're always supportive. In the chat right now, New York to SoCal, Charlie, when I was living out in California for that year, he was just picking my brain similar, like, okay, what do you want from this? What do you want to create? And if we were recording, like getting his first impressions on a game, or we were playing a multiplayer game, because we were playing games as kids always, so we're just like, why don't we take that energy and now we'll put it in front of the camera and you know, go from there. But yeah, I would say those are the people, at least like in the local vicinity. And it's a thing too, like even at Taekwondo, with me being more public about doing this content, because at first I kind of shied away from it because it was that fine line of like, okay, this is Master Griffin and this is Bret, like, there's the respect level here. If I take away this wall and they see all this and they're like, oh, fuck this guy, he's, you know, I don't want him teaching me or teaching my kid or whatever. Like, I don't know, some people might take it the wrong way, and you know, it's not what I intend. But since doing that, I've had people reach out and be like, oh, cool, where can I check out this? Where can I do that? Where can I support? And every year Extra Life rolls around, like, I see a lot of familiar names in there, you know, donating money to the cause. I'm like, you guys are amazing. Thank you for doing this. So, a lot of people.
And that was something I was going to bring up next, was Extra Life. So, like, how do you prepare yourself for that? What's your
God. Okay, so honestly, each year it gets crazier and crazier of like when I start preparing, when do I plan, etc. Like, for last year's, for example, I think I started planning maybe August. I started planning that with the wheel spins and how I'm going to present it. And we need these graphics. We need these people. So like, I'll make a whole Word document and Excel sheet of like, okay, here's all the people I'm going to invite. Here's the schedule of the first 12 hours. Here's the schedule of the second 12 hours. And like, here's all the wheel spins. Here's all the money donation goals. And it's like, oh God. And sometimes it gets stressful because you're like, I can't think of things for goals 200 to 300. What do we, like, what's big enough, but not too big?
Just put the birdie bot speeds in
there. You go. Yeah. By default.
Right. Oh God.
So yeah, Extra Life's been a lot of fun, and like, I'm already planning this year's, and obviously this year is going to be a whole lot different because obviously with quarantine going on, I can't invite everybody over. So it's like, what are we going to do? And it's the 5th year doing it, so I'm like, fuck, I feel like we got to do something big.
I know.
So
of all years.
Yeah, exactly. So Kate and I have spitballed some ideas together about that. The parents are down, so we're going to do it over there. We'll have the space that we need.
Ooh, cool.
We already got some interesting art, hint hint, nudge nudge, wink wink, exclusive, some art in the work for Extra Life. There's some things that I filmed behind the scenes that are for Extra Life. There's still a lot of work to be done, still some ideas up in here. I'm like, how do I make this real and make this happen? But Extra Life is a blast to do every year. And yeah, like I said, the planning gets crazier and crazier each year. It's like, all right, what can I do?
Oh man, just to keep topping yourself.
Yeah.
Oh man. And then I guess without delaying too much longer, I'll ask the final question for the evening, you know, for all the Enigma maniacs. Let's see, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
What the fuck is a Turkish prison? So no.
It's from the movie Airplane.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start off.
He
finish
asked
off
me
on
the
a
same
light note.
question the other day.
There you
We're
go.
all in this together.
Nice.
Oh man. But yeah, that's it, man. It's
Awesome.
just nice getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm like, who is this guy? Who's Bret? I know Master Griffin. I know him. He's, you know, that cool dude with the cool hair. But I'm like, I don't know.
The cool hair.
I don't really know
staple.
Bret. But this is good.
Yeah, that was an awesome topic. I appreciate that. That was awesome. That was a lot of fun.